Inside Fever Basketball continues with an off-season, a free agency edition here of the podcast, and I'm thrilled to be joined by our next guest. It's, of course, Erica Wheeler. You spent 4 seasons here in Indiana. You had an all-star appearance. As you found yourself a free agent this go-around, what were the prevailing reasons for your choice to come back here to Indiana?
Well, first, I'd like to say Christy is a big reason why I'm back here for sure. And also, this is a second home for me. Indiana is kind of, took my career to a whole nother place, and Christy was a part of that. She helped me become an all-star. So who is the better pick to help her start her new journey with doing something special? So I was like, Christy, you know what? I'm in. I had to scare her a little bit, make her wait a little bit. But then I just told her, I was like, I'm in. I know she trusts me. I trust her. So starting this new journey, now I think that's what she needs, someone that she trusts, that's a leader. And I think that's me.
You grew up in Florida. You played your college ball in New Jersey. You started your WNBA career in Atlanta, yet it almost seems like you were here for longer than 4 years, 5 if you include the Wubble season. But you just touched on the word home. I know home has many different places for you, but in a way, does this feel like a return home?
Absolutely. Like the first moment I got off the plane, it felt like home. I felt the love from the plane ride on down to dinner, and even today, I actually shed some tears today, Pat. Just being in the gym, they showed the video of me doing All-Star, and that video, man, me speaking at the end gets me every time. So just to be able to feel those emotions with the people that helped me get there, so very emotional, and it definitely feels like home.
Well, it's been 2019 since you wore this Fever uniform. I think we've had maybe a few new fans at least since then. So you have a fantastic story. You're a very interesting person, and I'd like to go back to the very beginning, if you will, with us. So let's go back to Miami. And when I think of you as a person, as a basketball player, the word triumph just keeps coming back. Can you take us back to when you were a kid growing up in Miami, and times were tough, and you were able to triumph?
Yeah. Well, I will say this, Pat. I wouldn't be able to tell little Erica that she'll be sitting here next to you having this interview talking about little Erica. But growing up in Miami, it was tough. When I think about it, it was tough. But when I was in it, Pat, I thought I had the best childhood ever. Like, I didn't know we were struggling. I didn't know I was homeless twice. I didn't know those things because my mom and my grandmom just did a great job of hiding things from us so that we didn't feel things. But when I hear stories, and when I'm spending summers at my auntie house, I didn't know we didn't have a house to stay because we was evicted. We didn't have nowhere to go. I'm thinking I'm just spending the summer with my cousins. I'm around a bunch of kids, but during that time, my older sister's like, hey, we was homeless at that time. We didn't have anywhere to go. So for me, my mom just did a great job of protecting me. Like, my older sister them know a lot more, but I just use basketball, football, baseball. I just use, sports to kind of just always be active. So for the more it was tough for my family, I always just had it good in the sense of, like, I was able to enjoy sports.
And it wasn't just basketball. You touched on that. You were playing all different kinds of sports. But how did you find basketball, and what made you ultimately fall in love with the sport?
The crazy part is, Pat, I was playing football. Football is like my first love. I love football. And, as you get older, you playing with guys that's, a lot stronger than you. And I can remember playing Optimus football at the age of 14 and having no shoulder pads and stuff like that. And I remember getting hit real hard, Pat. And at that moment, on the field, my coach was looking at me crazy. I took the gear off, the helmet off. I was like, yeah, this is it. I can't do this anymore. I can't get hit like this anymore. So I was always pretty good in basketball, but I never really took it serious. But because football was my first love. But, I'm like, I can't play football no more. Basketball is the next competitive sport that I can play. And it was great to be able to play with guys. I'm not going to lie, because I was good, and I'll be able to talk my trash and show them up. So basketball, that's how I fell in love with it. I was able to play with the guys, and I love being able to go to somebody else's court, because, like, in Liberty City, we have different parks. It's called Liberty City, Grand Cherry. You have Overtime and Dade County, and we would go to different parks. And the little guys would be like, oh, no girl can't beat me. And I always had like at least 4 or 5 guys with me. And they were like, oh, I bet she can. They were like, no, she can't. And I was just quiet about it. And I'd get on the court and bust they behind. So ever since then, like, it just kind of took off from there, and just always played with guys. My first time ever playing with girls was high school.
It's interesting hearing you say that because I feel like I'm having deja vu to a conversation I had with Emily Angsler, who grew up playing in the New York City courts. How influential were those street courts, those
Yes.
games against the guys? I mean, to the type of player, the type
Yeah.
of person you are now.
It makes you tough because at the end of the day, like no no girl is stronger than a guy. And if you can go and, beat a guy and be physical with a guy, it's a lot easier with girls. So the toughness do come with playing with guys and playing outside on the street courts because you don't want to fall because you don't get scratched up. So it's a lot of let me hold my own so I don't get embarrassed.
You then make the decision to play at Rutgers. Now we're near Florida. How did that come to be?
Well, when you're coming out of high school, you always have a top five. And my top five was Rutgers, UConn, Illinois. That's when Don Staley was there. LSU, and Miami. And man, just the trip to Rutgers was just it felt like home, man. Like Vivian was very welcoming. She felt like a mother away from home. My teammates, April Sykes and Chelsea Lee, played high school AAU basketball with them, so it was familiar for me. And family is everything to me. So when I was there with them, it was just so easy. So and then Vivian came to my house. Typically when coaches come to your house, they take you to a restaurant and try to show you off and stuff. Vivian was like, no, I want, I heard your sister can cook, so I want her cooking. So I remembered it like it was yesterday. My sister made collard greens, mac and cheese, yellow rice, and baked beans. And we had dinner in my mom's 2-bedroom apartment on this little behind table, and we were so intimate, and like she was just there with us. So my mom, after the visit, my mom was like, I don't know how you feel about it. I don't have any say about where you want to go, but I think this lady is going to take care of you and make sure you become a woman just beyond basketball. So my mom was super impressed with that. And me, I was just like, I got to go. Because I think, for one, I think she would help me become into an amazing woman. Two, I think my mom would feel comfortable about me going away from college. And I never really left home like that. So it was just a perfect fit.
And you're referencing the legendary Coach C. Vivian
Yeah.
Stringer. You go, you play 3 years at Rutgers, and when you're talking about triumph, when you're talking about obstacles you've overcome, you overcame so many at such a young age, but another one comes. When you're at Rutgers, you're 3 years in, your mom passes away at the age of 44.
Yeah.
What's that moment like? I mean, how do you keep from packing everything in, heading home and saying, this is too much? You just talked about how close you were with her.
Well, Pat, I did pack everything up and went home. Vivian came back and got me. Her and the assistant coach, it's like, I made a promise to your mom that you'll graduate. It has nothing to do about basketball. However, you still want to play basketball, play, of course. But I made a promise to your mom that you're going to graduate. So that's what we're going to do. But it was probably the hardest part of my life ever, Pat. Like, if you go back to a questionnaire that I had to do for Rutgers as a freshman, and it says, what is one of your biggest fears versus like, what is your favorite TV shows and all that stuff? And it says, losing my mom was one of my biggest fears. So for me, it's just like, once I realized like, I'm going to be okay without my mom, like that's when my life eventually started again. It took me almost like a year and a half where I just kind of was doing nothing. Like basketball wasn't a thing. I was in New Jersey still at the time, and it was hard. Vivian really helped me, and my teammates at the time really helped me get through some things, and that's why Kalia Copper can always have a conversation about those times, because she saw it firsthand, like when I had my moments of breaking down during games, breaking down in practices, just having tough times, just coping with, like, this is my reality, like my mom is not here. So it was tough, but I had some great people around me, my family, my mentors was just there pushing me to, get over that hump. And I actually graduated.
Your relationship with her, of course, goes far beyond basketball. But what do you think she's thinking
Oh,
about
man.
now? Watching all of this,
Oh,
watching
man.
the free agent version of you, the All-Star game version of you. You're coming back to Indiana, the WNBA career you've
Man.
had and will continue to have. What do you think she's thinking about? What do you think she's saying?
She's cutting up there. She's having a party almost for sure. She's gathering some folks around and just, celebrating, because that's who she is. Like, I'm a splitting image of my mom. My energy, how I act, my mannerism is my mom. All my family members tell me I let my mom act the same exact way as me when she was younger. So I know she's up there having the ball. And that's why I try to, whenever I'm in a room, whenever I'm talking, I try to give out good energy because she's watching me and she was just like, I know she's up there like, you making me proud. So I always want to just do my part always to kind of make her proud in those areas. And when I'm talking to people, when I'm introducing myself, I always try to give respect because that's who she was.
As you said, you went back to school,
Yeah.
you finished your senior season, you graduated. In 2013, you're undrafted, which is a terrific part of your story, which we'll delve into here soon. Were you thinking WNBA in 2013?
I was not. It was more so just to graduate college. Like, graduate college, I knew my name wasn't on the draft board. I had no intentions on going to the WNBA at all. My goal was to graduate. And I did. That's what I did. I graduated. I fulfilled that. And I didn't know what was next, So once I graduated, I started working at True Religion, which is crazy that when every time I talk about it. And I was working at a drug abuse facility that was in New Jersey. Ranges from kids between 6 to 18. It was the most humbling experience in my entire life because, like, growing up how I grew up, it's a lot of things I saw as a kid that I didn't supposed to see, but being able to experience that, like an 8-year-old addicted to drugs, was crazy to me. But just no guidance, no support, but that facility like provided that support. You had people like me that was there every day that's just giving them motivation to, change your life. You know what I mean? And I think what helped me was one day, like, I was talking to the kids, and one guy was like, I wish I was in I want to play in the NFL. And one of the kids was, ended up saying something to me. He was like, well, I heard you're a basketball player. You went to Rutgers. I was just like, yeah. He was just like, well, why you not chasing your dreams? So for me, that was a reality check, like, because how can I sit here and motivate you to go out and do something with your life when I'm not even chasing my dreams?
And you did start chasing your dream. Is that when you go to Puerto Rico?
That's when I get a call maybe like 4 months later. I was just like, this is God talking to me. Because at the time, I was probably making, between True Religion and the drug abuse, I was probably making like between $3,000 a month. The first job I got was $200 a week. That's $1,800 a month. So for me, it wasn't about the money. As you can see, it wasn't about the money. I was just like, this is God telling me, get back to your dream. Get back to doing what you love.
And you play some in Puerto Rico, you play some in Brazil, correct? Your big WNBA break comes with the Atlanta Dream, and it's almost by chance that it happens, right?
So first off, when I graduated college, didn't play, went off to Puerto Rico. I had my agent at the time. I won't say the name because you guys won't believe it. At the time, my agent was just like, I can't find you any jobs. I can't get you anything overseas. It's best you kind of find a job somewhere. And like I said, one of my friends who was playing overseas in Puerto Rico was just like, we need a point guard. The money is not a lot, but it's enough. You know what I mean? It's an opportunity. So I ended up firing my agent at the time, and I signed with the agent, Fabio Jardine, who's here with me right now. Completely changed my life. And he is representing Erica de Souza at the time. And Erica de Souza is on the Atlanta Dream team. And I was playing in Brazil, and I gave Erica de Souza, old team, 40 points. And Erica de Souza told Fabio, who's my agent, was like, we need to get her in Atlanta. Like, you need to call Michael Cooper and see if she can get a training camp. And just word of mouth. I was able to get that by word of mouth. And once I was there, it was all up to me. And here I am 8 years later, still here.
If Atlanta opened the door for you, it was your opportunity here, I think, that kind of pushed you through the door and solidified you as a mainstay in this league. What do you remember as you have the breakthrough moment with Atlanta, but maybe some heartbreak too, that you don't end up staying there, and then here's Indiana giving you that next opportunity, and in a way, here we are from that opportunity, right?
Exactly. I think Indiana, and because once I got cut from Atlanta during All-Star break, New York picked me up. Dan, who's the GM at Atlanta, he was the video coordinator for New York at the time, called me up, was just like, look, I might have an opportunity for you in New York. And I'm like, Dan, hell yeah. Like, I don't care if I'm sitting on the bench. I want to go. So he ended up calling me, and I was there for the playoffs. At the time, New York is playing Indiana. And I think I played maybe a total of like 12 minutes. And on those 12 minutes, I probably had like 20 points. And like one of the games, I think I played like 4 minutes, I had like 8 points. And I think that was the game that put Kelly on notice, like, hold on, who the hell is this kid? Like, so I think that put her on notice of like who I was. And then that following year, that's when I got the call from Indiana.
And your first year here, 2016, I mean, you start with Tamika, the very end of Tamika, right? And Breon January. What was it like walking into an environment? Those Fever teams were as good and as respected and as consistent as any. What was it like for you trying to fight and scrap and claw for a roster spot and looking at players like that on the other side?
And man, listen, when I first came in, I was a sponge. I was asking Tamika questions she was just like, E-W, no question is like, you can ask me whatever. And I would ask her questions after questions. I would stay in the gym. I would just be around her. I just wanted to be around her. And then Breon Jerry just helped me tremendously, just leading the way for me and just kind of, let me know what I need to do in order to stick. And they were there for me, man. Like, and I feel like Tamika was one of the ones that probably went in the office and said that we need this kid. Steph, I can remember, I have to tell this story. I can remember one day Steph was hard on me, and I'm like, I'm doing everything right. I'm executing plays. Like, anything she's telling me to do, I'm doing it right. But she was just riding me. And I can remember like it was yesterday. Tamika walked past me, and she was like, she tested you better not break. I was just like, thank you. At least somebody said something, like, because I know I'm doing everything right. But if Tamika didn't tell me that she was testing me at the time, I wouldn't have never know how to react to it. So now I know I'm being tested. So now I'm like, okay, I'm definitely not breaking. I'm definitely not losing this battle. And like when I tell you, Steph tried to break me and she just couldn't. And I think that was the last draw of like letting my teammates know and her like, yeah, this kid worked for her spot. And I was on the team from that point. That I've never had a tough practice like that up until that point.
You're talking about former Fever coach Stephanie White there.
Yeah.
This franchise undergoes a pretty massive change as when any legend retires. Every franchise goes through this. But from your perspective, you came in with Tamika and Bree, and then not too long after Bree gets traded, and you almost go from like the last player on the roster who just grabbed a spot to kind of a leader, and it happened really quickly. Like, right? Like, how was that to experience that turnover in such rapid succession?
Well, I think with having Breon and Tamika helping me lead the way and just seeing how they was leading, it helped me in the way. And then when Pokey Chapman came in, we met a lot. I've sat in the office with her numerous times, and even with Christy, met with her, and they just kind of gave me the torch and just told me like what I need to be and what was the standards for me, and I just try to always live up to that standard. And then I think I did what I could, what I was working with.
You had a good first 3 years here. You exploded in the first half of year 4. Got you your All-Star nomination, and we'll get to the All-Star game in a moment. But let's start with the beginning of 2019. Did something change? Did a switch flip for you?
I think everything just kind of rolled over from overseas. Like I was playing in Russia, and that year we won Euro Cup. And the team that we had wasn't like no super team or anything, but everybody just knew their role. And like I knew my role to the T. I knew every game what I had to do, and if I didn't do this, we wasn't winning. And I was just super consistent. And the coach at the time is Victor. He's the national team coach for the women's national team for Canada. And he just kept me to a standard where it was like, if you do anything less than this, you're not gonna play. And I was just super consistent. We end up winning Euro Cup, and I just was on that same wave of like just being consistent and playing good and feeling good, and it just rolled over. I was in the gym, asked Christy and Jesse, like, we was in the gym. We got up a lot of shots in 2019, and that's why, for me, I think it's super important is why I came back.
And you end up making the All-Star game. Yep. I think everybody knows the story of that All-Star game, but take me into maybe the moments just before it, because I mean, what you did is just so beyond storybook. You couldn't believe it in the moment, you could tell. Can you believe it 4 years later?
Still can't. Pat, like, it wasn't like every year I give myself goals. Nowhere in my goals where it had All-Star, where it even had All-Star MVP. Like, that wasn't even a thing. So for me, when I got the call, I thought it was a prank. When Bonnie called me, no, not Bonnie, but forget her name. But when she called me, I'm thinking it's a prank because all like the past month, my brother and my best friend was like, "Yo, I think you're gonna make All-Star." They talking about it online, and like I don't get into going online and looking at stuff. I don't care about that stuff. That's their thing, and they were just like they've been talking about it. I'm like, yeah, whatever. So when I got the call, it was a lady, and I'm just like, I'm almost certain that one of my brothers them put somebody up to something. And she was just like, no, this is such and such from the Lee's office. I'm calling you to let you know you became an All-Star. And I'm like, what? And I seen Candace getting the call. So I'm like, no, you for real. So I walk out of the locker room and I was like, you for real? She was like, yes, no, this is from the Lees and I want to congratulate you. And I was cursing and everything back. Like, I was like, stop playing. And I couldn't believe it. And I just burst out in tears. I called my agent. He's crying on the phone. I mean, we both crying because like for the more people talked about it, it's like, you know how it is in the WNBA. I just didn't believe it was going to happen. So when it finally happened, I was just in shock.
And it's one thing for it to happen. It's one thing for the game to start to unveil like it did. I mean, players will talk about how the rim seems big when they're going through a hot stretch. I mean, did the rim seem like the size of the ocean? What's going through your head as that's happening?
Pat, when I got on the flight to go to Vegas, I'm like, man, I'm about to enjoy myself. I'm about to have a good time. I'm probably gonna play like 10 minutes. I'm gonna just enjoy the Vegas Strip, like just have a good time. I had no intentions on playing as long as I did, and I don't know, man. I honestly tell people that I think my mom was in the gym making that ball go in because like I was my regular self, and I felt good. You know what I mean? We were young, me, Odyssey Sim, and Diamonds and Shoes. We were young, so we had a lot of energy. But for me, it's just like once that first ball go in. And that second one go in, the third one is a heat check. You have to shoot it. Like everybody in the gym know, like that. The second you make 2 in a row, and you shoot the third one, like people are cool with it. And once the third ball went in, I was like, something good about to happen. But what I didn't know what was gonna happen.
For a few days, you were the sports story. What was that like?
I think it was great for my family, like for my family back at home in Miami to be able to like share that moment with me, in the sense of like being able to brag and talk about me because like my hometown know I'm in the WNBA, but to see me on TV consistently, I think that was rewarding for my family as well. And even for me, because it's, you know how it is. We as women basketball players, we have our moment for a split moment and then it goes away. But that moment did not go away. Like it was lingering for a while. I was even on a commercial about empowering women, and like a lot of big stuff came with that moment.
Your story has so many improbable highs. We've detailed many of them, so many triumphs you've had to have, circumstances that have been dealt your way, and almost as if to continue this just unbelievable story, as high as 2019 was for you, 2020 is, I would assume, a real low. The pandemic hits, a very challenging time for anybody, but especially for you. The Wubble season comes into play. You aren't able to partake in any of it. You caught COVID and then dealt with significant ramifications from it.
The crazy thing about that, Pat, I was working out. I was getting ready for the season, and when we have to do the heart tests, EKGs, and all that stuff, and when I caught COVID, I didn't lose taste. I lost taste for a day, and that was it. I wasn't sick. I wasn't anything. So when I did my heart test, they said it was fluid around my heart. And the doctor, the first thing he asked me, he was like, are you working out? I was like, yeah, I'm doing 20 sprints, and I'm running a mile every day. He was like, are you kidding me? I was like, yes, this is how I train to get back, into shape. And he was just like, your heart is basically in a jar, juggling around fluid. Like, you can pass out at any moment. I'm like, what? He was like, you never felt dizzy or super tired? I'm like, out of breath because I'm working out, but never like the extent of passing out or anything that's abnormal. And he was just like, well, this is what the scan is showing us. Like, it's impossible for me to allow you to play. So I was just completely confused because I've never had to sit out with basketball, no injuries, knock on wood, no real big injuries to where I had to sit out. So I was completely in shock. I didn't understand it at all. Like, it made no sense to me.
And you couldn't really talk about it. That had to kind of add a layer to all the difficulty because as everybody is heading down to Bradenton and playing in the Wubble, you weren't able to play. I don't think including myself, I don't think anybody fully realized the extent of what you're going through. So not only do you have the challenge of not being able to be with your team, but no one really gets why you're not there.
Yeah, and I couldn't even really explain it because I'm still processing what the doctor is telling me. And COVID is new. We don't really know what it is. And at the end of the day, it's like we in a wobble. And if I was to leave to go to the doctor, I have to quarantine for 7 days. And in 7 days, I can miss 2 or 3 games. So it's just the doctor was like, this wouldn't make any sense. You don't have access to a hospital in case something do happen that you can get to a hospital as quick as you need to. So I don't suggest it. And I'm just like, what? Like, it made no sense to me. He was just like, you can't work out. You have to stop all activities. I don't even want you speed walking. I don't want you running upstairs. And I'm like, and you talking about a person that works. Like, nobody has to tell me to go work out or get in the gym. And I'm like, Doc, you mean I can't do anything? He was like, I don't want you doing anything. The most you can do is walk. And I don't even want you to walk longer than 15 minutes. And I'm like, what? I couldn't understand any of it, Pat.
That WNBA season happens. It happens rather quickly. You then, for the first time in your career, become a free agent. You go from fighting and scrapping and clawing to make rosters and hoping somebody will take a chance on you to all of a sudden you've got offers left and right. I know it wasn't easy for you to leave here. You had multiple good options. Take me back to that free agency, the challenge it was to leave, but ultimately the opportunity that you felt like you were following.
I don't think the challenge was to leave, Pat, but that's not a conversation I want to have. We're going to let the past be the past. Well, I will say I end up in LA, and LA was good to me. You know what I mean? LA was good to me. I think it gave my career a different, my fans and the WNBA a different look of who I am as on and off the court. And I think it helped my brand a lot being in LA, and also my basketball career too as well.
Was it difficult then finding out for the first time you were traded?
Pat, when I found out I was traded, because my agent don't ever double call me. He doesn't ever quadruple text me. I had 10 missed calls from him. And I made a joke because we had a game. And after the game, I'm like, dang, my agent called me 10 times. I must got traded or something. And like my teammate, Stephanie Mavunga, I'm playing with her overseas. She was like, E-Dub, you got traded. I was like, shut up, you lying. She was like, no, for real. I'm like, huh? What? So when I get to my phone, I have 100 text messages. Instagram's going crazy. My agent is blowing me up. Everybody's blowing me up. And I'm like, just completely confused. Just finished the game. Don't know how to process it all. Because at the same time, me and Derek Fisher had a great relationship. So for me, I thought he probably would have told me. But never mentioned anything. So a lot of stuff was confusing. And I was just like, all right, this is a part of the job. Like, this is a business. I mean, they can do that and not tell me. So, I mean, it is what it is.
You get to Atlanta, and you're maybe in a little bit of a role like you'll undertake here. A lot of young players, they're kind of undergoing a rebuild. What was your mindset then as you took over on what was your third team in 3 seasons?
I mean, first off, I have a house in Atlanta, so I was at least happy to be home, be able to, spend the summer in my house because I'm never in my house. It's just sitting there. But it wasn't even about my mindset. It was what Tanisha wanted. And like we had a meeting and she told me the things that she want from me. And that's what I did. I was great at, the things that she asked me to do. The group of girls that I was with was not hard to deal with. Ryan Howard is probably the best #1 pick you can ever draft. Kid works, she listens, she never really gave any back talk. She's the ultimate #1 pick. So, and the locker room was just together. I said one thing and everybody moved. Like it wasn't pulling teeth or anything like that. So the transition of being a leader, it was pretty easy because everybody, at least listened and wanted the guidance. So it was pretty easy.
Christy Sides, this ends up being a little fortuitous because she was an assistant coach here when you were here. She's an assistant coach in Atlanta now that you're in Atlanta. And of course, you're joining her here for kind of round 3. Was it impactful to have that extra year with her now as you look at the decision you're making now to have another year with Christy in Atlanta?
I mean, I tell people all the time, whether Christy was in Atlanta or whether she's in Indiana, like Christy is someone that will get an invitation to my wedding. Like that's how our relationship is, and that's how much I trust her as a person and a coach. So to have that extra year with her was great. So that's who kind of kept me in line when I was about to lose it. You know what I mean? Because a lot of stuff, things get tough sometimes, and you always want to try to find someone that can help you navigate things that you're going through that's in the business too as well. And she was there with me, so she helped me navigate some things. So it was just easy, having her around.
She said what really sold her on you was watching how you dove right into a leadership role with all those young players. You're coming to Indiana. The Fever had 4 first-round draft picks last year and then added a couple rookies. 2 more first-round draft picks are coming. You are a veteran leader for this group.
Yeah.
What is your mindset as you come back here for round 2 in a completely different spot than when you entered in round 1?
First, I need to get a feel for them, but I don't want people to think, or I don't even want my teammates to think I'm just as hard-nosed, do what I say, or it's the highway. No, I'm always learning too. Like, I don't know everything, and there's certain things that they can teach me that I don't know. Like, my ears are always open, but I just want to be able to teach them how to be a pro. Like, I'm undrafted. I've been in the league 8 years. And I don't think any team ever complained about me as a player or as being a professional athlete. So I just want to be that example to let them know this is how you be a professional athlete. This is how you go about your business every day. Like, business is business. Whatever you do off the court is what you do off the court. But when it's business time, this is what it needs to look like. So I want to be able to balance them out in that way and just be a professional.
There are so many different leadership styles. Tamika and Breon January are maybe 2 examples of how you can get it done in 2 very different ways. How would you describe yours? And as somebody that experienced great leadership when you came here, how vital is that for a young player to have?
I think first thing is to have fun. I think I always want to let people know that at the end of the day, this is our job, but like, this is a dream job. Like, have fun doing this, because once it's finished, it's finished. So my approach is always, let's have fun. Like, like I said, I'm not hard-nosed, is this or that or the highway. Like, no, let's have fun. And whatever I say, I can take it back too as well. I'm not a person that, if I say this to you, you can't say it back to me. No, I can get checked too as well, and my ears and eyes will be open as well, and I'm gonna receive it. So I think that always kind of break the ice with players or even people, period. If you can give it and receive it, I think it kills everything, because sometimes people want to have a say in certain things, to feel good about certain things. So I always have that lane open, and I think that's where my leadership kind of, takes off, because I'm willing to listen to as well.
Well, I saved one of the most important questions for last here.
What?
The shoes. Do they make the trek up here?
Yeah, in April they will. They definitely gonna make it. I definitely have a little trailer getting shipped out to Indiana with all my kicks. I will be ready for game day fits and stuff like that, bringing it for the social media and stuff like that. As you know, I'm an Adidas athlete, so I'll probably have on the latest of the latest, that whatever Adidas have. So, I'm gonna come with the fly.
Between now and the start of the season, what do you need to accomplish to get where you want to be when May rolls around?
Stay healthy. I think that's the most important thing, is staying healthy. I want to win games overseas. I want to feel good leaving overseas, and my team is pretty good overseas. I want to connect with the girls still. I've already talked to everybody that's on the roster, and just keep building a relationship up until we get to training camp, because it's going to be hard. And I need them to know that I got their backs no matter what, when it get hard, because it's going to get hard. Before we get to that first game, a couple of people going to cry during training camp, because that's just the nature of it. And I want them to know that I got their backs, and I know what it feels like to be in their shoes, so they can always count on me. So I have to build that relationship in these next couple of months, because when training camp come, I know they're going to lean on me a lot.
You know you're a fan favorite here. Before we end, I'm going to give you the opportunity to look into the camera, to look into those Fever fans who are watching right now, and give your message as you're back.
What's up, Fever fans? Erica Wheeler here. I'm back. I'm ready. I'm ready to bring some energy. We're going to have a fun summer this year. Make sure you guys come out and support us. It's going to be a fun season.
Erica Wheeler with the Indiana Fever, the jersey. It looks right. This all just feels right, doesn't it?
It definitely does, man. It's a perfect fit. It looks good. I'm happy 17 was available, because I would have been a little disappointed if it wasn't. But it's available, and it looks good on me, so I'm rocking it, Pat.
We thank you for taking the time, sharing your perspective, your story. It's a phenomenal one. You're a terrific and a very interesting person, and we can't wait to have you back here and on the floor just a couple months away.
I can't wait to, Pat, man.
All right, that's Erica Wheeler. Stay tuned here to Inside Fever Basketball throughout the offseason. We'll have more episodes dropping here very soon.